Greetings, salutations, and words of goodwill, everyone. Today we're going to be doing another video in my early Christian heresies series. The particular heresy that we're going to be covering today is called Montanism, and we'll be getting to that in a second. But before I start, I just wanted to let everybody know that this particular video comes from an earlier video that I did, which covered 4 heresies all at one time. So the audio might change here in a moment. Anyway, it's about to begin, and I hope you enjoy.
And Montanism is when we find our first properly Christian heresy, over and above the Judaizers who we talked about last unit, right? Because the Gnostics and the Marcions were a type of Gnostic, and the Manichees, right? They're the sort of people that I would want to put quotations around when I call them Christians, right? They're using Christian words. And in that sense, I'm not really sure to what extent they fall into the Christian ideology, properly speaking, but they are using Christian words. But the Montanists are like real Christians insofar as they believe in the incarnation and the resurrection and the ascension and the second coming, right? They believe that we're saved by the death of Christ and blah, 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 right? They actually believe in normal, real Christianity for the most part. What makes them different is that they really don't believe that public revelation has ended. They believe that God is still going to send up new prophets to give new information for all of humanity. And they believe that their leaders are some of those prophets. So I have there that we'll talk about those leaders in a second, but I have there under letter B that it's a pseudo-charismatic sect. For those of you who don't know what a charismatic individual is, now usually that means that they can speak well and get people motivated, fine. But in Christianity, it has a specific theological meaning. Which means that the Holy Spirit is in that person, and that usually it results in them having special abilities that normal people don't have, typically to speak in tongues or to heal people, etc., etc. I have pseudo there because clearly the Montanists are wrong. Right now, maybe the Holy Spirit was in them and they were just misinterpreting what was going on, but we'll just work on the assumption that this whole thing is fabricated, not necessarily made up in the sense that they knew that they were tricking people, right? But fabricated in the sense that they were just wrong and it wasn't the Holy Spirit, and that's too bad for them. So what makes the Montanists the Montanists? Well, in parts they follow a guy whose name is Montanus, right? So the Montanists are the people who follow Montanus, and Montanus has 2 other prophetesses, female prophets, named Phrygia and Maximilla. Phrygia means old lady, right? And Maximilla means the little awesome chick. Just as a side note, that's not going to be on the test, but if it helps you remember who they are, it's the old lady and the little awesome chick who follow the mountain guy. That's their prophets. That's just what their names mean. There's no significance there. It's what their mom called them. But everybody's names have meanings, and that's what their meanings have. And whenever I see Phrygia, I just think it's funny because it means old lady. And why on earth any woman would ever name their newborn baby old lady is, beyond me. Anyway, so I just think it's funny. I knew a girl in college whose name was Priscilla, and she was little old lady, which again, I think that's hilarious. So whatever. We're going to have a lot of fun with the Montanists, because the other thing that's true about them is what makes them super distinct is twofold. But the first is that they're an apocalyptic sect, which means that they believe the end of the world is imminent and coming very soon. And what they believe is that the heavenly Jerusalem, which I guess is like a literal physical place, is going to descend onto the earth. And very shortly, right, and the world is going to end at that point. And the place it's going to descend is a place in Phrygia, which is in Asia Minor, what we call today Turkey, but which up until, well, I think probably after World War I, everyone else just called Asia Minor, because there was a Turkish country before World War I, but they controlled way more than what we call Turkey today. So they believe that it's going to descend on a place in Phrygia called Pepuza. And Pepuza is just one of the most awesome words that have ever been spoken, because it just sounds really great to say. Pepuza, right? So you can guarantee that that's going to be on the test, right? Pepuza. Make sure you know that, because I like to say it, so I'm going to ask you about Pepuza, all right? So the Montanists believe that the world is going to end soon, and that Jerusalem, the heavenly Jerusalem, the city of God, is going to descend upon Papusa in Phrygia, which is where they're from, right? So they're convinced they've got this revelation and that it's coming to their hometown in Papusa. The other thing that they believed is that if you abandoned the faith, under persecution, because there was a lot of that at the time, that was it. You couldn't be saved, right? You're out. Game over. You're going to hell. Very sad for you, right? Which we talked about last time, about the more rigorous ideology in early Christianity, that once you abandoned the faith, that was it. And this is the reason why Tertullian, if everybody remembers Tertullian from last quarter, he became a Montanist. And the reason he became a Montanist is because he was attracted by this rigorous aspect, this aspect that you really have to maintain your faith in the face of persecution, or that's it, right? Because he was hardcore. Tertullian was always hardcore, so he was looking for something hardcore. Now, he eventually, I think, comes to believe this idea about Papusa is kind of a ridiculous thing, and he leaves the religion, but he ends up creating his own sect because he can't give up this rigorous aspect, right? And the church in that time frame is being a little bit more merciful. North Africa was always pretty hardcore, but a little bit more merciful. Okay, so that's Montanism, the Pseudocharismatic sect created by these three prophets/prophetesses, which believed the world was going to end in a place, and that heaven was going to come to a place called Papusa, and that if you abandoned the faith, you couldn't come back.
So that's Montanism. I hope you enjoyed. The next heresy that we're going to be covering is Docetism, and that'll be the last of the videos that most of the content for was pre-made, and hopefully I'll be getting to some more original stuff. I hope you all enjoyed, and as always, please like, subscribe, comment, etc., and I hope to see you around. God bless, and have a great day.